YouTube, what's the deal? It's your boy Tank Be Chopping, and I'm coming at y'all with another haircut tutorial. On this cut, we're gonna be doing a low fade, a number 1.5 on top, and a beard trim. Let's go. So as you can see, I got my white Babyliss FX, I got my number 1 guard on there, and I got my lever all the way open, and that's a 1.5. So I'm taking that 1.5 and I'm going all the way, I'm cutting the top down, making sure it's all to the desired length. So as you can see, I'm brushing away all the extra debris. I want to clear all that out the way. That way I can make sure the top is all even and there's no stray hair sticking up. Remember, you got to go against the grain and across the grain on this just to make sure you get it all down to that length. Alright, so now I have my lever all the way closed and I'm just debulking the sides right here just so it makes the fade a little easier for me. So I got my number 1, like I said, and I'm coming up right up to that parietal ridge and I'm flicking out. I don't want to create another hard line, so I'm just flicking out when I get closer to the top of that haircut. Or I'm sorry, when I get closer to the top of the parietal ridge. And then I adjusted my lever halfway open, and I'm just coming up a little higher and flicking out a little more just to get rid of that darkness that I created with my number 1 guard. So as you can see, I am adjusting that lever a little bit, and it's just to take down, you know, the bulk, or just to take away that darkness that I do see that I created. So we don't want to have that, you know, on this fade, so that's why I did that. Alright, so now I got my Babyliss Trimmers, my Silver FX, and I'm putting my initial bald guideline in. And some people would tell you not to put the line in this way, you know, with the trimmer facing this way, but I do it because I'm going to shave it down anyways, and it's easy for me to take that line out, so I'm not too worried about creating a harsh line with this right here. So as you can see, I'm dropping it down in the back. Remember, if y'all watched my last video, I did say that when I do low fades, I like to drop it down in the back, so that is what I did. I'm coming right below that occipital bone. And a lot of people stress about making this line perfectly straight. Remember guys, you don't have to make this line perfectly straight. You're gonna fade it out anyway. So you wanna give it, you know, obviously a good shape, but it doesn't have to be 100% perfect on both sides. So as you can see, I got my rose gold shaver and I'm just taking the sides down to skin. So now I got my white FX once again. I got my clipper open and I'm setting my next guideline in. So I'm coming up about 1 inch and I'm following that same shape that I made with my previous guideline. So once I do that, I'm gonna go over it a couple times just to make sure it's nice and consistent all the way through. And then I'm gonna close my clipper halfway and I'm gonna come up right below what I just did. So I don't wanna go all the way up to that next guideline, but I'm coming up right below it and I'm flicking out. And now I got my clipper all the way closed and I'm flicking that bottom line and flicking out. And for the most part, this should take away most of that bottom line, and if it doesn't, I'll come back with my trimmers and take that line out. So now I got my number 1 guard on there again. I got my clipper all the way closed, and even though I did do this at the beginning of the haircut, I'm just going over it just to make sure I got all that down to the right length to make sure it fades in well. So I'm just knocking down all that extra hair that I may have missed when I did this step earlier. And I'm adjusting that lever the higher I come up. Alright guys, so now I got my 1/16 guard and I'm opening my lever halfway. And I'm coming up about 3/4 of an inch and I'm flicking out. And now, as you can see, I close my clipper all the way and I'm tapping that them dark areas at the bottom of that guideline. And as you can see, I'm adjusting my lever a lot on this haircut. So even though it's a 1.5 on top, you know, a lot of people think, oh, 1.5 and a fade is fairly easy. For the most part, it is. But with this type of hair, you know, he has a lot of just dark spots in his hair. So it made it a little more difficult to fade. So it's really a lot of detail work that I'm already doing just to make sure this fade comes out good. So as you can see, I'm just adjusting that lever and just hitting those spots where I feel need to be hit to make sure this fade comes out good. Alright, so now my clipper is open and I'm doing some detail work. As you can see that it basically didn't fade in as good as I wanted to, so I'm using some corner blending. I'm gonna adjust that lever, open and close, just to get these dark spots out of the way, just so I can make sure this fade comes out the way we want it to look at the end of the haircut. You know, in a perfect world, this would have already been faded in, but just due to his head shape and the darkness that he has in his hair, you know, it's gonna take a little more work, a little more detail work, but we're gonna get there. And remember, you learn this just by doing over and over and just basically having a barber's eye. Like, it's not always about, you know, doing the steps. Sometimes you have to go back and you're gonna have to redo a step, or you're gonna have to do a lot of detail work to make sure the fade comes out blurred. So now I got my 1/16 guard on there again, and I'm just basically doing some more detail work. I started with my clipper open, so with the clipper open, that is basically a number 1 guard. And I'm just coming up and I'm just still flicking out and taking away them dark areas, you know, using some corner blending, just using a bunch of different techniques that I've acquired throughout the years just to make sure this haircut comes out good. And as you can see, I'm using that brush to make sure I brush away all that hair so I can actually see what's going on the head and not just assuming or guessing. So now I'm using my trimmer. I'm taking away that bottom guideline that I made with my trimmer the first time around. So now I'm just flicking it. I'm just barely tapping it just to make sure that line comes out and to make sure I don't create another line. Doing some more detail work, opening and closing that lever as needed. Now we're starting with the edge up, so I'm starting in the middle of the head, and I'm just moving my way over ever so slightly. Now I'm gonna hit the back of the beard, and I'm just coming up to that line, and I'm just barely tapping it, cleaning it up, making sure it's nice and straight. Same thing with the top of the beard. We're keeping it pretty full, so I'm just barely tapping the top, giving them a nice shape. So we want this to look crisp, but we don't want to push it down too much. You know, he wants that full look. Hitting underneath the chin, right at the neck area. You know, that's his preference. He liked it that far down, so that's what we're doing to that. And then we're just cleaning up the back of the beard, making sure all that looks nice and straight. So most of the time when people get a thick beard, I normally leave the inside of the goatee area full, but my client wanted me to knock that down and line it up. So as you can see, that's what I'm doing here. And remember, when you do the inside of someone's goatee area, you want to make sure you're using the corners of the trimmers. If you use the whole thing, you might take too much hair off, and obviously that's not something we want to do, and the client probably won't be too happy. So you got to use the corners of your blade. And then we're just going to tap the mustache up a little bit. Trimming his mustache down a little shorter. I always do this just because I don't think my clients want their mustache to be poking out too far, so I always trim it down. I did a 1.5 right there. And now I'm just fading in his beard. I start with my clipper open, and I'm just closing it the closer I get to the top of the beard, or the closer it gets to the actual hair, that to the skin that we did on the haircut, obviously. Hope that makes sense. If I confused you, my bad. And once again, I'm doing some more detail work. And remember, guys, I told you I'm doing this because of his head shape and his hair texture. It was a little more difficult to fade in, so it took a lot more detail work than normal, but that's what you got to do sometimes. All right, so now that that's done, we did the left side, we did the right side, and now we're doing the back. Remember, we want to follow that shape, so it is, you know, the fade is dropping down in the back. So we are still coming up about an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch. We're coming up, and we're taking out that line by closing that lever halfway, and then we're closing all the way to take away that bottom line. Now I'm taking away all that excess hair that he had back there, so we're hitting it with the number 1 guard right there. So remember, we're basically just doing the same thing we did to the left side and to the right side. We're just trying to tie it all in, because, you know, remember, on the back side you do want it to drop on a drop fade, obviously, but you want to make sure it ties in together. So if y'all haven't done so yet, guys, I would please appreciate it if y'all subscribe to the channel. Make sure y'all like this video. If y'all have any questions or comments, make sure y'all leave a comment in the comment section below. I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. If you have any questions about this cut or any of the clippers that I use, feel free to ask. If you have any recommendations to anything you want to see, let me know, and I'll try to get to that as soon as possible. This was actually one of my last cuts that I did before we got shut down, before the quarantine. I haven't recorded anything new. I'm about to get back on and start recording some new videos. So if y'all have any recommendations or anything y'all want to see, let me know, and I'll try to put it in. Also, if y'all are interested in any of the tools I use and you want to purchase them, I have links in my description, so y'all just click that little down arrow, check out my description, and there's links to all the tools right there. Well, I say all the tools, but it's not all of them, it's the majority of them. I need to go back and edit that list, but yeah, y'all check that out, and if y'all see something y'all like, go ahead and purchase that one time for your boy. So as you can see, this fade is coming together. It's looking pretty blurry to me right now. I don't know about what y'all think about it, but I think it's looking pretty good, and it ties in pretty good to the side. There's a few more detail work, a few more detailing that I can't even say that right, but I gotta do some more detail work basically. But here we go, tying in the back to the right side of the haircut, and as you can see, I'm using corner blending, adjusting that lever as needed. Y'all see how I lay that clipper on its side right there? That's corner blending right there. All right, so now he's got the hot lather on him. I've placed the hot towel on his face using that Vibe FX right quick. And we just going over the edge up. But what we did with the trimmers, we're gonna do with the razor. Make sure to pull that skin tight. Lay that blade as flat as you can. I know a lot of people are scared to go against the grain under the neck, but I think it's pretty easy as long as you lay that blade tight and you stretch that skin. hope y'all enjoying these videos, guys. I need to record some more content so I can get some more content out to y'all. I was doing like 2 videos a week, and recently I slowed down to like 1. I'm gonna try to go back to 2. I gotta get back on my grind. Check out them clippers in the background though. My arsenal is fire. So now we're finishing him up by doing his forehead area. Yeah, that's basically it, guys. This is the haircut. Let me know what y'all think. I think the fade looks pretty blurry. At least to me it does. Y'all let me know what y'all think about it in the comments, guys. Until next time, YouTube, I appreciate y'all.